guillot, tu te vantes. À moto, tu te vantes. Maintenant mes vanto, vanta, diso et vanta. Maintenant mes vanto, vanta, diso et vanta. À moto, tu te vantes. Maintenant j'ai guillot, tu te vantes. Maintenant mes vanto, vanta, diso et vanta. Maintenant mes vanté, vanta, diso et vanta. Et vanté, on a veut se vanter. Et vanté, on a veut se vanter. Ami ouvre, ami entre, ami jette, ami je te dis, télé, ingia, et puis ma ami je te dis, télé, ingia, et puis ma sonna, tu me doublé, me doublé, tu me doublé, me doublé, me doublé, tu me doublé, tu me doublé, me doublé, me doublé.
Miango masuma jemia, mikolo buka na bibel. Munia masuma jemia, mubuki poni majekie. Miango masuma jemia, mikolo buka na bibel. Munia masuma orise, mubuki poni majekie. Miango masuma jemia, mikolo buka na bibel. Munia masuma jemia, mubuki poni majekie. Miango masuma jemia, mikolo buka na bibel. Munia masuma orise, mubuki poni majekie. Uma mitombande, bana dijiki nonde olamba. Umi wombande, iyo musunge ditomoye. Uma mitombande, dijiki no deuxième division. Umi wombande, bana musunge ditomoye. Amba pelepeo, langwe abiso lambo eyo. Kao biso yejo, dijiki nonde lamba e. Mukura numbewe, langwe abiso lambo eyo. Kao biso yejo, dijiki nonde lamba e. Epete moriso, langwe abiso lambo eyo. Kao biso yejo, dijiki nonde lamba e. Mukokore confianso, langwe abiso lambo eyo. Kao biso yejo, dijiki nonde lamba e. Kotol kolbero, langwe abiso lambo eyo. Kao biso yejo, dijiki nonde lamba e. Ele mericado, langwe abiso lambo eyo. Kao biso yejo, dijiki nonde lamba e. Jean-Pierre Jokoto, langwe abiso lambo eyo. Kao biso yejo, dijiki nonde lamba e. Emmanuel Kumo, langwe abiso lambo eyo. Kao biso yejo, dijiki nonde lamba e. Jikino de lambaye, Kukura numbewe, Langwe abiso lamboye yoye, Ka obi soye, Jikino de lambaye, Epeta morisoye, Langwe abiso lamboye yoye, Ka obi soye, Jikino de lambaye, Mukokore kokiaso, Langwe abiso lamboye yoye, Ka obi soye, Jikino de lambaye.
Piece of music will definitely not make much sense to Sharon Dion, who is my show monitor, distance show monitor from Limbe, Cameroon. It would definitely not make much sense to you, De Valley Brook. It would definitely make sense to my very good friend and brother Chris Toby, and of course Combe George, who are watching me live from their respective locations. Music of the yesteryears, of course, music done in the early 80s, if not the late 70s. Jemia is the title of that masterpiece by Axel Muna, music which has brought the time to 6 minutes past 4 here in the studio of Apex One Radio. It's been a very cool afternoon here in the city of Columbus, with temperatures dropping to 48 degrees, and we hope that the temperatures will rise tomorrow, God willing. And of course, it's definitely been a fantastic Tuesday at your own corner of the world. This is Apex One Radio for those of you just joining us, and for those who are coming across this station for the very first time. We broadcast 24/7 from Columbus, Ohio in the United States of America, but then we stretch our tentacles and we touch the four corners of the world. Thank you so much, Sona Eric, for joining the show. Just like you, a young Blaise. Okay, thank you so much for being part of Apex One Radio this afternoon. And so it's Tuesday, the 30th of October 2018, just one day to the end of the 10th month of the 2018th year after the birth of Jesus Christ. And so it's going to be a fantastic afternoon session here on radio, beginning with a fresh edition of On Board with Ernest Kanjo. It is a radio journey that rides with those dynamic young people who make the continent of Africa tick in their respective ways. This afternoon we shall be receiving an international journalist, very, very young, but then so brilliant and of course bold. She will be joining us from Toronto in Canada on this radio journey, which begins right ahead in a couple of minutes here on Apex One Radio. And for those of you who are listening to us on ApexOneRadio.com, we want to say thank you so much for choosing this station. And the locomotive engineer of the show, Marcel Adet, who is in Varsovie, Switzerland, tells me he is ready. Then my distance show monitor, Sharon Dion, tells me she's ready as well. The ticket collector, Emmanuel Paye, is also ready. And of course, the host of the show, Ernest Kanjo, is ready. I'll be your conductor in the next couple of minutes on this radio ride. And so if you are ready out there, then my team is ready. Apex One Radio, On Board with Ernest Kanjo, live edition. Let's go.
Hey friends, come to think of this, the world has become so competitive and giving birth to people we describe as movers and shakers. See how they excel in their craft and contribute to the development of their community and their society. Their stories are fascinating and inspiring. Their examples are worth emulating. Their successes are great. Here comes a platform that tells those stories with the people behind them coming on board to do so. On Board with Ernest Kanjo is that journey which ferries you into the lives of Africa's illustrious sons and daughters, at home and in the diaspora. The one-on-one top-profile interview is every week on Apex One Radio. On Board with Ernest Kanjo, be Kanjo's next passenger.
mi homi keremongo me gwebe memo nyekinya like it happen maybe my imunu mahongo memle balenye urbo baso bakewangwe
Hello there and welcome. This is On Board with Ernest Kanjo. When in 1994, a great communication scholar introduced what later went into the annals as one of the most spectacular journalism and mass communication programs within the African university and higher education milieu, that was at the University of Boyan, little did he know that the outcome was going to be this fascinating. 24 years on, the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication in the University of Boyan is being celebrated as one of the best things that happened to journalism. This is thanks to its scores of journalism and mass communication products who have printed their names and are still doing so, not only in Africa but across the world. And to say Eno Tanjong, the said communication scholar whose brilliant idea is what the world is benefiting from today, is a happy man, would be understating the fact. He is indeed proud of the work he and his colleagues put in over the years. Today, just like yesterday, graduates from the department, affectionately known as JMC, are providing the best of their skills in the media outfits and corporate organizations the world over with positive feedback. Needless to read this long list of personalities recognized to that effect. Tina Nalova might have gotten to JMC long after the department went operational, but she met the same J spirit, that is the spirit of excellence, and upon graduation, she has excelled just like her mates and those who got there before her. The JMC graduate who furthered her studies in the United Kingdom and obtained a master's degree in international journalism in the process is a brilliant communicator. Her platforms, the Lady T blog and Facebook Live show, The TN Show, expose this brilliance with an accompanying impact on her audience. But how did Tina Nalova get into journalism and blogging? What inspired her? In which media outfits has she served and with what impact? What does the international journalist have off her sleeves? These and of course more are the questions we will be asking Tina Nalova on this radio journey. The Toronto guest on the show is our main passenger in this edition. And so good afternoon and welcome to this edition of On Board with Ernest Kanjo, reaching you from Columbus, Ohio, United States of America. Marcel Adid is the locomotive engineer, Emmanuel Paye is in charge of the tickets, and Ernest Kanjo is the conductor. My distance monitor is Sharon Dion, who is in Limbe, Cameroon. And so the train now kicks off at exactly 14 minutes past 4 here in the studio, which is same time in Toronto, Canada. We will be right back. Time for us to plant the decor.
are listening to On Board with Ernest Kanjo, a top-profile face-to-face interview that presents some of Africa's illustrious sons and daughters, making the continent proud. On Board with Ernest Kanjo, just on Apex One Radio. Get on board and be Kanjo's next passenger.
And of course, our current passenger is Tina Nalova. She is an international journalist par excellence, blogger, and she is a communicator. She will be speaking live from Toronto in Canada. She is the main passenger on board this radio ride. The edition of today, the 30th of October 2018. Once again, thank you so much for joining the show. This course of people joining us on Facebook and those on apex1radio.com at exactly 17 minutes past 4 here in the studio. We should be sometime in Toronto, Canada. Let's move on there and say welcome to our main passenger on this ride. Tina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ernest.
How are you today?
I'm doing great, and you?
I'm all right. We thank God. We are glad to have you on the airways of Apex One Radio today, Tina, for the first time. And like I mentioned earlier on, you are a very young yet so brilliant journalist, and a lot of people out there have come across your works, and they would have the same description of you. So, how is Toronto this afternoon? Cold weather?
No, it's actually sunny today. It's a little bit warm.
Okay. Right, so you're welcome to Apex One Radio. You're welcome on the right. So we're going to begin the journey right away without much ado, Tina. And I'll begin by asking you to reintroduce yourself for the sake of our listeners who are meeting you for the first time. So who is Tina Ikomi?
Well, actually, I am called Ikomeli Kambi Tina Nalova. I am the daughter of Mr. Ikomeli Kambi Jacob and Mrs. Emayoti Ikome. I'm from Southwest in Boya, a Bakwarian. But I was born and I grew up in Yaoundé. So I'm 23 years of age. I'm based in Toronto, like you mentioned earlier. And I have 3 siblings, all boys, and I'm the only girl. So summarily, that's just who I am, taking away my academics or professional life.
Beautiful. Let me find out if you are able to speak Bakwari.
A little bit.
So, are you able to speak Bakwari?
A little bit, but I hear better though.
Okay. Well, we're not going to get into that. So when did you grew up in Yaoundé, as a matter of fact? Could you just take us back to when Tina was, a child growing up in the neighborhood with other peers? How was life? What is it that marked your childhood?
Life was simple but beautiful. We were from a modest home, my siblings and I, but we really were blessed to have parents who had our backs, if I can say so. We grew up in a neighborhood called Colbisong in Yaoundé, and my dad is an auto mechanic, and he worked for ERAD in Colbisong in Yaoundé. So we actually lived there for a lot of time, like several years. Growing up was fun, but I was the only girl, so I was kind of like battling with the boys, trying to play football, climb trees, like because I didn't really have any female, like a sister or someone to do the girly stuff. But what marked my childhood was the relationship I had with my brothers. We're always playing around, football, hide and seek, you name it. So it was beautiful.
Right. So take us across those classrooms where you studied elementary education, secondary education, and higher education.
Yeah, I actually studied all through my life in Yaoundé before going to the university. My nursery school, primary school was at government bilingual primary school around the lake in Yaoundé next to Enam. That's where I did my primary and nursery school. And then later on, I moved to LBA Yaoundé, that's Government Bilingual Practice in High School, where I did from Form 1 to Upper It was a bilingual school, and Yeah, while I was there, I wrote my A levels and O levels, and then eventually I left for the University of Boya.
Hmm. And so when you went to the University of Boya, you opted to study journalism. Why? What inspired you?
I've always loved words. I've been passionate about words, passionate about communicating and talking. I've
Hmm.
never actually been scared of talking to people and just being just out there. So I remember when I was a child, I used to tell my mom I want to be a journalist.
Hmm.
And when I was in Form 3, she actually convinced my dad to let me take a holiday workshop
Hmm.
at a radio station in Yaoundé,
Okay.
and it was at 94 FM, and I loved it, even though it was in French, but
Hmm.
I loved it. So I told her, this is what I want to do. And she was like, you need to have 10 points in the advanced level to get into this department.
Hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, sure, there's no problem. I'm going to have it and stuff. So I think my passion for journalism started there with
Hmm.
that workshop. I really loved what I did that holiday.
There should have equally been a journalist who inspired you, a journalist you loved to listen to or watch on TV.
Yeah, there was Anne San Quen.
Hmm.
She was eloquent, beautiful. She was confident.
Hmm.
I loved the aura she sent out was just professionalism, and I wanted to be that.
Right. Okay, we understand that the journalism training at UB is a 3-year program. So how did it go? Could you just describe this training and what is it about it that actually marked you?
Well, yeah, as you're correct, it was a 3 years program.
Hmm.
I started in 2012. I got admission, and then the first thing that caught my attention was the number of reputable lecturers we had. There were
Hmm.
people who had studied, who had traveled, and who had mastered the art of journalism and communication.
Hmm.
So I was kind of intimidated to have such reputable people teach me. So in the first year, it was a little bit, I was a little bit laid back
Hmm.
and just observing. But by the second year, I was full blown into it. I had my radio shows. I was a producer for the radio show Daily Cats,
Hmm.
and I was always at the radio, being a news anchor or a newscaster or a technician or doing a live coverage somewhere. It was just on and on and on. And then by the final year, I was like one of the top people in the department when it comes to being at the radio or even in academics. So my overall experience was a fabulous one. I minored in the Department of Political Science, so I had a minor in my degree. Overall, it was really a challenging but successful experience.
Challenging but successful experience. Her name is Tina Nalova, international journalist and blogger. She is our main passenger on board this radio ride. She is speaking live from Toronto in Canada. And so tell me, which part of the journalism training did you enjoy most?
Oh, the radio,
Okay.
the broadcast sector. That's for sure. I loved going on air. I loved it. And my show, The Cat, was an interactive show. It was a call-in show every Sunday. People could call and participate in quizzes and request for songs. So I was always happy to know that people were listening to us. So we had to make sure the show was awesome, and from start to finish, that was a 2 hours program. So that was what actually made my 3 years colorful.
Right. So if I get you clearly, you actually opted for the journalism segment of the program because it is journalism and mass communication. The other side is the science of communication. So you were what Eno Tanjong would normally call journalism major.
Yes, and funny enough, the work experiences I have are instead mass communication inclined and not the journalism. That's actually the contrast.
That's beautiful. All right, we are on Apex One Radio. It's a radio journey which takes us across the professional lives of young people who make the continent of Africa tick. She is really, really young, 20 years of age, but then she has a wealth of experience in her field. Tina Nalova is her name. She is the main passenger on board this radio ride. And so you're going to take a very short break, Tina. Time for us to let Zinia accompany us in some beautiful music. Then, when we come back,
make people populate. Anywhere I go, shop with the fala. I said, shoe, better not forget it. And so many them, they turn me as I define my way for this life. So I cry, Papa, don't leave me. Now so bless me, I beg, don't leave me. When I'm a jumbo, Papa, me tumba, what I got a day. Now go give up, take up, putting up the flag, now joke at all. Oh, yeah, send the Range Rover. Ekuregu, Kasa, plenty. Chop on Tangi, and the past will feel like a home, my chips and I've got the blood. Some money, that's so shine, I eat it. As I go, I come, I walk, and I the praising the Lord. I the turn, the walk, now here 11 years. I the try my best, and they look for my brother. How yeah, you start to say, that's so plenty.
Welcome back to the
Thank you, Ernest.
Right. So, upon question, you worked as a freelance web content writer for World Media. First, tell us, what is web content writing? By freelance, what do you mean? For the sake of our
Okay, a website content creator is just someone who provides content for websites that are designed by a company.
Okay.
So Clone Multimedia focuses on creating websites for companies.
Mm-hmm.
So if a team back company, for example, wants to have a website. They come to us, and then my boss says, Tina, you have to provide content for this website. So you need to do their about page, you need to do their contact us page, you need to do their services provided. So I do that, and I edit it, and I make sure that it's put in the proper layout. And my boss actually was my former lecturer, Mr. Benyela Jeko. He actually spotted me on my final year when I was taking the blogging course in third year, second semester. He loved the work I did. So after my final year exams, he offered me the opportunity to be part of his company. And I learned a lot while I was there.
Now, let's stay on content provision here. Now, if such a company has to write stuff about a company, do they do that? Then they give you the articles, you edit them, or you actually write the articles?
We actually have a sit-in meeting with the company, and we do like a rundown of what they offer, what they want to be, what they want on their website, how they want it to be portrayed. And then I go behind and I write it, and we do a proofread session. And then if it's okay with them, we now put it up on the website before we actually officially launch the website for viewers. And
So
exactly.
So for how long did you do this, and was it an exciting experience?
It was an exciting experience. I did it for a long time. I gained a lot of experience from it. I even did it freelance, like you asked earlier on. It means it was not a stable contract where I had to be in Boya. I was working even though I was in Yaoundé, and even when I did travel, I was still working for the company.
Right. So our research on you told us that you later worked in the communication service at the Ministry of Transport. What was your job description here, and how did it go? What was the experience?
That's correct. I was an intern at the Ministry of Transport. I was there for a little while. To be honest, at the start of the internship, I was a little bit scared because it was boring. The first week or so was so boring. I remember I was telling my mom, I'm not going to go back there because they don't do anything. And I'm someone who likes to do stuff, be busy. But then in the second week, started picking up. The role of the communications intern was to be like under the communications director. His name was Mr. Endo Zumo. And our office was actually close to the minister's office. So we had this liaison between the minister and ourselves. So any meetings that were being organized, we set up the meetings, we take minutes, and then we later on write press releases about those meetings and send them out to the media. Sometimes we fax them out, and then other times we actually drive to the media organization and drop the press release there. And then we also go through the ministerial mail. If it's in English, we have to proofread it. We have to make sure it's well written in French. You know, anything that had to do with communication and handling their website and social media, we did that. It was actually a nice experience at the end of the day.
Next up was at the British High Commission, still as an intern. So tell us, how did you get there, and what was your role?
Once I graduated in 2015, I returned to Yaoundé, where we're based, and I wanted that experience to actually put in what I studied while I was in UB. So I saw the opening for a communications and political intern, and I applied. I was shortlisted, and I interviewed, and I got the role. So I started off in August, and in the beginning, it was nerve-wracking because there was so much protocol and security, and it was so formal. But later on, when I settled in, it was actually a lovely experience because I had a mentor called Muriel, and she was my big sister in quotes. She taught me everything I needed to know. The role of a political and communications and political intern, we focus on sending out information about the British High Commission to its stakeholders.
Mm-hmm.
For example, when I come in the morning, I take newspapers and I do a synopsis of stories that concern the British High Commission, and then I do a write-up and I send it via email to stakeholders in Dakar, in Gabon, you name it. And also, we were part of the Chevening Organization Committee, the Chevening Scholarship.
Right.
So we take applications, we interview, we organize a send-off party, all that had to do with the British High Commission. That is what we did.
So, what did you learn from this diplomatic mission as far as corporate and political communications are concerned?
There is a lot of protocol to follow.
Protocol.
Yes. At the Ministry of Transport, there wasn't any. You just chill, you just do what you have to do. But at the British High Commission, you had this password here and this rule to do, and then you had to make sure you didn't say anything or do anything. It was really a straight line to follow, and it was good because you make sure you did your job properly. So that was the main thing I got out of it.
Special good evening to my very good friends who actually went through that experience at the British High Commission. I'm talking about Akara teacher and George Isunge Fortminian. You're listening to On Board with Ernest Kanjo, the edition of October the 30th, 2018. And our main passenger on this ride is Tina Nalova, communicator, journalist, international journalist. She's a blogger. She's everything. Young, really, really young. So tell me, what are the memories you have of these various internships you did?
At the Ministry of Transport, the memory I had was the day we went to Seattle radio station to record our radio show, because the Ministry of Transport actually has a radio show on CRTV called Transport Magazine. So we actually went there and recorded and edited. That was really nice because we had the opportunity to leave the office and do something journalism related, which I love. But at the British High Commission, my favorite experience was the Chevening send-off party that we organized at the British High Commissioner's home with all the Chevening scholars, like those who had been awarded the scholarship. So we got to organize it, and it was a fun evening. And we had the High Commissioner with us. It was very informal, and it was a nice evening.
Right. And so the story of a young journalist is being told on radio across the airwaves of Apex One, and we are broadcasting from Columbus, Ohio, in the United States of America. The show has Maxwell added as the locomotion engineer. Emmanuel Paye is taking care of the tickets, and our distance monitor is Sharon Dion in Limbe. This is Apex One Radio, broadcasting from the United States of America. Now, Tina, I'm going to take you back prior to the experience which you just recounted. We understand that you kicked off your professional journey at the Chariot Radio and Television. So could you just describe your days at this campus broadcasting outfit?
Well, to begin with, the Chariot Radio is actually the best thing that ever happened to me, because it was the platform that really had me building my skills in journalism. So to begin with, you needed your press card to get into the radio, and if you didn't have your press card, Professor Enotan John was gonna come and make your life hell. So you always had your press card.
So who issued this card?
Our association.
Okay, is that
Association of Student Journalists?
ASJUB.
Yeah, ASJUB.
Right.
So there are different sectors with the technician, the producer, the journalist, and then the station manager and etc. But as you know, Ernest, we had the news week that everyone had to do.
Okay.
Yes, so we had news weeks where we had to go as reporters on the field, gather news, write the news, and go on air at 6 p.m. So by the second year, I was a news anchor, and I was anchoring the news. And also, I was a reporter, but at the same time, I was the producer of the show Daily Task and also Weekend Fiesta that was coming up on Saturday. So, and then I didn't want to end there. I wanted more, so I wanted to be a technician. So I got trained to be a technician. So as a technician, before people go on air, they give me their sheets, their control sheets, and I prepare the songs, and then we do the show and all of that. And then it didn't end there also, because I was also put up for live reports. For example, when Don Moen came to Cameroon, the University of Boya, I was among the reporters who was at the Amphi 600 with him and reporting live with my colleague Isifu Wifengla, who's so amazing also. So it was just a package. You never rested. It was always something to do somewhere. Yeah.
She has an insatiable thirst for knowledge, and this knowledge quest actually took her to the United Kingdom, where she studied for a master's in international journalism, which of course she obtained before relocating to Canada, from where she's speaking live on this radio broadcast monitored by Sharon Dion and produced by Maxell. My name is Ernest Kanjo. Tina, you're going to catch your breath again for just a few minutes. Time for us to do some music from this end. When we come back, that very beautiful story of yours will continue.
It's my name, PK on the bed. I love Jimmy, Jimmy, oh, Jimmy, oh, Jimmy, oh. I love Jimmy, Jimmy, oh, Jimmy, oh, Jimmy, oh. I love Jimmy, Jimmy, oh, Jimmy, oh, Jimmy, oh. I love Jimmy, Jimmy, oh,
Jimmy by Leonette Aye. She is in Bamenda. And of course, that piece of music has been taken to 5 here in the studio of Apex One Radio. Thank you for joining the show, fellow guests. Thank you so much, Reverend Tunde Steve. Thank you for joining the show as well, Irene Baraduko. You are in Cameroon listening to us. Jimmy, on Apex One Radio. One more
fine, fine, baby. My Sharika call. You to give me the joy that I want. To punch me the way I felt. Your love it'll do me somehow that I cannot explain. Some more or less I can't let you go such a I forget the reason on the pala. I can't go the I don't let us think to fade away. My baby never saw. I forget the reason on the pala. And I go the
is the locomotive engineer of the show. Sharon Dion is in Limbe doing the monitoring at large. My name is Ernest Kanjo. Let's go back to Toronto and say welcome to our main person. Welcome back, Tina.
Thank you, Ernest.
Right. So let's stay on campus. Let's stay at Chariot Radio. You said you worked as a technician during those preparatory days. As technician, what precisely were you doing? Were you rolling the buttons on the audio console or something like that?
Exactly. I was trained by Oscar Lingongo, who's
Okay.
my Bakure brother, and he actually taught me everything, how to turn on the radio station in the morning, how to put on the computers, select the songs, the audio console, giving the mic, taking the mic, and all what that comes with it, receiving phone calls and everything. So, yeah, but I didn't really do, if I had to put it in a scale, I think I did it in a 60% scale because it was clashing with some of my courses. But when I had a free time, I would always go and assist for a show to be produced.
Right. So tell me, with this experience you had at Chariot Radio and TV, would you say that this outfit prepares JMC students adequately for the field?
Definitely. And you know what? The amount of money we pay for that course is actually small because they teach us so much. They teach us journalism proper and also mass communication because we produce newspapers, we produce books, we did public relations, advertising, communication. We did so much in 3 years that I think majority of the knowledge I have comes from my 3 years in UB.
Okay.
So it definitely prepares us very well for the job market.
And like I mentioned earlier on, you have an insatiable thirst for knowledge, which is why you furthered your studies in the United Kingdom. What did you read there precisely? We've been talking about international journalism. Is that what you actually read?
Exactly. While I was in Yaoundé, and while I was even working at the British High Commission, I got a scholarship from Liverpool John Moores University itself, and I had to resign from my role there to go further my studies. In the UK, my university was the University of the Year, so it was a very reputable university in the UK. So the course International Journalism, it's journalism with a peep into the world. So it's international. It teaches us not only journalism, but public relations. It teaches us comparative analysis of the world. We look into how journalists report stories, not only in the UK, but across the globe. We look into how different media organizations function in different societies. We look into how different governments control different medias around the world. So it's like a course that shows you what the world does. From Liverpool, you can see everything people are doing when it comes to journalism and communication.
Right. So why did you opt for the United Kingdom and not the United States, not Russia, not Canada?
Well, the UK is a reputable country when it comes to education, that's for sure. And I was blessed to have been offered a scholarship by the university itself through the Roscoe tuition scholarship. So it was an honor for me to actually have that privilege to go and study. So that's why I went, and I also love the course, so I really was excited to do it.
And so what do you think you actually acquired from that course?
I acquired a peep into the world. Like when I was in Cameroon, I was too limited when it comes to the knowledge I had about communication. In as much as they taught us a lot, we never really used what they taught us to implement it in different settings in the world. But with this course, we got the opportunity to say, oh, in China, this is what happens. In India, this is what happens. In Germany, this is what happens when it comes to the media and how the journalists report. So you sit back and you see that every single country has its own rules and regulations for its media. Yeah, and that's a strength.
Now, my research on you further brought me to Liverpool Echo News, and I'm imagining that it is a news outfit on campus. Am I correct?
It's not on campus, actually.
Okay. Okay. So,
It's actually
tell us about it.
okay. It's actually the top newspaper in Liverpool.
Wow.
It's the Liverpool News Echo. Its readership is so large, and it's been there for several years. I didn't want to leave the UK without having work experience in the field of communication, because we didn't have an internship in my year, in my 1 year there. So I actually applied, and I wanted to be part of it, and they authorized me to come be there for, I think, a couple of weeks, almost a month. Okay. You are in the newsroom, and you're given beats. You have to go out in the streets to interview people. Sometimes you have to use social media to talk to people, using tweets, Instagram posts, Facebook. So, and you come back, you edit your stories, you send it to the editor, and if it's approved, my story was actually published in the Liverpool Echo, Ernest. Now that I think about it, and my story with Maisie, she's from the UK too. So we spoke about what's this woman's name? This woman who saved their cats or someone. I'm not too sure again, but that it was published, and it was an honor. I was so excited.
Right. So great experience as well.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. Her story is being told on radio. Tina Nalova is her name. She is a very young journalist who has had a wealth of experience in the profession, very hardworking, very proactive. She always wants to learn more and more. She is our main passenger on board this radio ride. We're going to listen to some music again for just a very short while. Then when we come back, Tina, the journey will continue. Scores of passengers who are on board this radio ride with us, and we have Elvis Etaka. Thank you so much for coming on board. Thank you, Pooh Jonas, for climbing on the bus. Thank you so much, Ayon Bless. Thank you, Christopher, for being the passenger on this radio ride, which has as main one Tina Nalova, international journalist and blogger. Thank you so much. The scores of people joining us on apex1radio.com on board with Ernest Kanjyo, the edition of October the 30th, 2018. It's exactly 6 minutes to 5 here in the studio of Apex One Radio, same time in Toronto, from where she is speaking. Music.
Jaja, if you hear me today, now hard work, my sister, no be the play, problem, no the show for face,
listening to On Board with Ernest Kanjo, a top-profile face-to-face interview that presents some of Africa's illustrious sons and daughters, making the continent proud. On Board with Ernest Kanjo, just on Apex One Radio. Get on board and be Kanjo's next passenger.
Get on board and be Kanjo's next passenger. Our current one is Tina Nalova. Tina, welcome back.
Thank you, Ernest.
Right. So you are a blogger as well, and you've done sufficient blogging, I must admit. For how long have you been doing this? And what motivated you to get into blogging?
I've been blogging since officially, that's professionally, I've been blogging since 2016. Mm-hmm. But before 2016, I had a blog where I put up stories. But it was not really like professional. But in 2016, when I met my employer, my former employer, Mr. Benyela Jeko, mm-hmm. he made me really fall in love with blogging because he was a professional in it. Mm-hmm. He helped me get my first domain name. He helped me master the art of blogging. Mm-hmm. So I knew I had to do it professionally because of his impact in my life when it comes to mm-hmm. My academics and professionally.
Right. So, Tina, we are going to grab this golden opportunity of having you on the airwaves of Apex One Radio to do some little bit of education. A lot of people still don't get what blogging is all about. So, could you just explain what blogging is and how different is it from journalism?
Well, there's a statement that always comes to my mind. Blogging is graffiti with words. That is, you're painting a picture with words, and you are the master of it. So a blog is just like a platform where you put up stories and you have readers come view your content. So it's different from journalism because journalism has a lot more strings that come with it. Mm-hmm. As a journalist, you either work under an organization, and that organization has its own policy, and you're bound by so many rules. Okay. But as a blogger, you're free. You're free to write whatever you want to write, mm-hmm. to share it to whosoever you want to share it to. Mm-hmm. So it's a personal platform. Mm-hmm. So overall, summarily, that's what blogging is all about. It's not really journalism. Not every blogger is a journalist, but every journalist can be a blogger, mm-hmm. because blogging is just writing stories, putting them on a platform. Mm-hmm. A journalist can do that. Okay. But a blogger cannot be a journalist when it comes to working in a media organization or writing leads, etc.
Now, in explaining what blogging is all about, I heard you mention freedom to write and publish everything. So tell me, do you also have the freedom to publish unverified facts as a blogger?
They have freedom to no, that's not correct. You're not allowed to publish unverified facts. That leads to slander, and that can take you to court. Mm-hmm. So it's always as long as you decide to be a blogger, you are a communicator. So whatever you send out there, you have to make sure it's true and verified, mm-hmm. so that if something happens along the way, you can back it up with a source, mm-hmm. or with a document that shows you have the right to do that, mm-hmm. in as much as you're being free at your platform. Mm-hmm. But we live in a society where your actions have consequences.
Do we have any established rules guiding blogging?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Do you have any rules that have been established guiding blogging?
Yeah, there are rules. There are rules that are established to guide blogging. Mm-hmm. It's just like any profession out there. There are rules that follow when it comes to blogging. But mm-hmm. the thing is, do people use these rules? I'm not sure they do, because some people just take it as a hobby, and when it's a hobby, you don't really take out time to do enough research, mm-hmm. with regards to what you can and cannot do. So, but when you take it as a profession, as something that you want to master, mm-hmm. you can do research to know where is the line I need to make sure I do not cross.
Mm-hmm. And so, do we have blogging as, or how do I put it? Do you have any formal institution where blogging is, learned?
Well, that one I can't say for sure, but I know in my degree course at the University of Boya, we were taught about blogging.
Okay.
We were taught the theory and the practicals. We were taught what we can and cannot do, and we were taught how to go about doing it.
Okay.
So we were taught and we were graded both professionally and both academically and both theoretically and practically. So I don't know if many bloggers out there get that training, but there are always training courses when it comes to such things.
Okay, that's nice to know. So tell us about the Lady T blog.
The Lady T's blog. The Lady T's blog, as I said earlier, was created in 2016. It's my name, Lady T, and it's my blog, so Lady T's blog. And we focus on Cameroon entertainment. And over the years, we've put out information with regards to what's happening, but we do not deal with sensationalism. We don't do with, oh, this person has done this to this person. We deal with more elegant and formal information. So we don't really say, oh, this artist has been caught with this artist somewhere under the bed. No, we don't do that. So Lady T's blog is more of formally writing stories with 5 W's and H, and then trying to share it formally, just doing it by the books. So far, we have close to about 4,000 people following us on Facebook, and then we also have people following us on Instagram and Twitter, and also traffic on our blog itself.
You just mentioned sensational blogging, which apparently is what sells. So do you think that because sensational blogging is marketable, it should be encouraged?
So I really think it's a free world. Like, I think it's a free world. That's showbiz, that's entertainment. So sensationalism can never be lost. It's part of it, and people make millions out of it. So if you're a blogger and your focus is sending out sensationalized stories, that's fine. Do it well and also be ready for the consequences. But if you are also a blogger who's low-key doing her own stuff, you too can also have your audience, because there are people who follow others who are low-key, and there are also people who follow others who are sensationalized. So there's no room for everyone.
All right, beautiful education there from Tina Nalova, who is a blogger and doubles as a journalist. She is the main passenger on board this radio ride with Ernest Kanjo. She's speaking live from Toronto in Canada. So tell us, what has been your experience in this sector, and how have people reacted to your works?
My experience has been it has been a steadfast one. It's been slow but steady. People I'm being honest. people initially, the thing is, I don't really put myself out there. Many people do not know I am Lady T, because on my blog's page, I don't have my face on it. I just have my logo. I prefer to have my stories talk for me. So if people follow me, it's because of the way I write or the way I put up my stories. So I'm kind of low-key. And when it comes to the artists, the entertainers, none of them really know me personally. So I'm just doing my own stuff in my way. But I'm proud of being part of the people that are showcasing Cameroon entertainment to the world. So the feedback has been positive. We have people who follow us. We have people who reach out to us to send stories, to promote their companies, their brands, their music, you name it.
Right. So we understand that you went Facebook Live with what you describe as the TN Talk Show. Was it to add value to the Lady T blogging you were doing?
No.
Okay.
The TN Talk Show was a completely separate idea from the Lady T blog. Majority of my Lady T followers do not even know I was the TN Talk Show.
Okay. So tell us about the TN show.
Wow. When I returned from the UK this year, January, I decided to come up with the TN Talk Show. This thing came up because of my followers, not even my followers, my friends online, because they wanted a platform to talk about certain things that disturb youth. And I realized there were really like a lot of people who had that in mind. So I decided to go live, but I didn't just want to do it like some random stuff.
Okay.
I decided to brand it, give it give it a name, give it social media handles, give it everything. And I branded it, and we went operational, I think, in January or early February. So the TN Talk Show was every Sunday at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. Was it 5? 6 or 5 p.m. And we went live with a topic. And this topic, people had to talk about it. We had guests, and people come and share stories that affect youth and even adults. So that was all about the TN Talk Show.
So what are some of the topics you discuss on the show?
Our first topic ever was why do beautiful women find difficulty getting married. We had why do women like money. We had would you let your partner touch your phone. We had would you stay with your partner if he had a one night stand. We had will you marry someone because of their religion. Okay, we had another one who said would you give your husband money to pay your bride price. So it was just social topics that youth could maybe be experiencing that needed advice, and so we'll talk about it.
So were these topics initiated by you, or they came from your followers?
Majority of the topics came from me.
Okay.
But then we had topics from my followers, and they'll be like, "Oh, Tina, I wanted to talk about this," and then I will coin it in a shorter sentence rather than a long thing. So that's how it went.
And tell us about these followers. Who were they precisely?
Oh my God. I had people from across the globe. I had Dude Cool. I had JR in the US. I had Berkeley in Boya. We had people in Germany. We had people in Malaysia. We had people in the UK. We had people in China, France, Belgium. They were all across the globe, and they were calling, and they were actually waiting every Sunday to be part of the show.
So after running that show for a couple of months, what impact do you think it created on its audience?
The TN Talk Show will forever be remembered because it was amazing. Because after every show, I had so many people reach out to me to say, "Oh, Tina, this topic today was amazing. You helped me overcome this." Or, "I can't wait for next session. And tell me more about your show. How can I contribute? How can I be of help?" So that's what the show was all about. And I had other people who actually had personal problems, and they would tell me to discuss it on the show, which to me was an honor because I was asking myself, a little girl like me, like, who am I to come and, talk about your problem? But it was such an honor that he trusted me with such an information. So after so many months, I'm proud to say, because we had close to 10,000 views on YouTube, on Facebook, 10,000 views on Facebook. Our views went from 10,000 to 3,000 views. Wow. Sometimes we had 1,000 views. Yeah. So we had people who were watching us.
That's interesting. She is a blogger, international journalist, and a couple of months ago, she was quite prominent on what she described as the TN Talk Show. Her name is Tina Nalova. Okay, so just catch your breath again for a very short while, Tina. Then when we come back, your story will continue.
Ouais, petite, ça va? Hein? C'est quoi ça? Ça veut dire quoi? Écoute, attends, on va faire un truc, ok? Sincèrement, je ne comprends pas ce qu'elle me dit. Chocolat, je ne sais pas ce que ça signifie. Mis dans le tempo, il me donne le fili. Les gens feront encore le Congo ça. M'aller avec moi comme ça. Moi je m'en fous. Aujourd'hui on n'est pas sérieux. On va tout vite chocolat. Moi je m'en fous. Aujourd'hui on n'est pas sérieux. On va tout vite chocolat. Je sais ce monde n'a pas de sens. Aujourd'hui on n'est pas sérieux. On va tout vite chocolat.
Very special good afternoon to you, my good brother and friend, Valley Cool for being here. Thank you so much for joining the train. It's on board with Ernest Kanjo. The journey is more than an hour old, and we have as main passenger Tina Nalova, who is an international journalist and blogger, and we are accompanied by scores of listeners on Facebook and of course on apex1radio.com. Journey monitors closely from Limbe, Cameroon by Dion Sharon, and of course we have Maxwell Ajik as the locomotion engineer. Manuel Pay is taking care of the tickets. The conductor is Ernest Kanjo. Chocolate by X Mahlea, just on Apex One Radio.
You are listening to On Board with Ernest Kanjo, a top-profile face-to-face interview that presents some of Africa's illustrious sons and daughters, making the continent proud. On Board with Ernest Kanjo, just on Apex One Radio. Get on board and be Kanjo's next passenger.
And our current passenger is Tina Nalova, who now joins us from Toronto, Canada, once again at exactly 14 minutes past 5. Tina, welcome back.
Thank you, Ernest.
Why did you stop the TN show?
Everyone has asked me this question. I've avoided answering this question, but I think I'm going to have to address it today. Well, the TN talk show was not supposed to be a long-term thing. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be something that was brief, but that would have a great impact. Mm-hmm. So I felt like we had attained that. We had gotten to the point where we had impacted people. And as my mom always says, leave the scene when the upload is high.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? It's good. It's a wrap. Thank you for watching and everything. But my fans are really sad, and I understand. But I wanted to give it 100%, and at that moment, I couldn't give it anything less than 100%. So I had to call it a wrap.
Did you notify your followers at the start of the show that at some point it was going to shut its doors?
No. Oh, Ernest, you're putting me on a tight spot.
So you took them by surprise.
I actually took them by surprise because I didn't inform them, because of course they were not going to let me go. You know it. People are going to be like, no, continue. But it takes two to tango, and I was no longer willing to tango anymore. But I left behind so many videos that I'd done so they could always rewatch it and also, like, reminisce the good old days.
So 6 weeks after you signed off from the CN show, how do you feel? Do you miss it, and do they miss you?
They miss me. Majority of my viewers are my friends, so they write to me online all the time. Even without the show, we're still talking, and but they do miss it. They miss the topics. They miss the back and forth discussion. But right now, I'm onto something else. So I don't really like when I move on from something. I don't really like missing it or trying to be nostalgic. I like to feel content and grateful, and ready for the next challenge that awaits me.
Now, if you have scores of those listeners writing to you and asking you to revive the TN show, would you consider that?
Well, you can never say never. That's also one thing. The world is very unpredictable. But even if I do revive the TN talk show, I'm going to try to make it better than it was, and something a little bit more impactful, a little bit more wow. And not just on Facebook again, but that would be a long-term thing.
You were about to mention something in the pipeline. So would you mind letting the cat out of the bag, or we'll leave it for some other time?
Right now, Tina Nalova is just resting. I had a lot that I've been doing, as you can see, over the years. So right now, I'm just enjoying the new country and relaxing. But there's always something brewing, and when it happens, you'll be the first to know.
When it happens, we'll definitely be given that privilege to know about it. Her name is Tina Nalova. She's speaking live from Toronto in Canada. She is the main passenger on board this radio ride on Apex One Radio at exactly 18 minutes past 5 here in the studio. Let's find out from Tina what she thinks about the Bonte Digital Media Awards, which she's looking up to as far as nomination is concerned. So, have you been nominated yet, or are you looking forward to that?
Well, I don't know if you know, every person would love recognition. When you do something and you're recognized, it's always flattering. So if I get nominated, it'll be flattering. I'll be grateful. I'll be excited. But to tell you that I am expecting to be nominated, I can't really say for sure, because I have all the amazing colleagues who are putting in even more work than me and who are really into this blogging and doing it 24/7. So if my fans did a good job to nominate me and I'm nominated, awesome. If I'm not nominated, well, there's always another year and there are always award shows out there. But yeah, it's not really like a do or die something.
So why should you think that Tina should be nominated, not just for the BDMA Awards, but for any other one?
Tina Nalova is professional. The Lady T blog is a professional blog. We write our captions, we verify our stories, we put up true information, we make sure our layout and design are top-notch, we make sure our English is good, and also we keep our reputability by always maintaining a professional relationship with our followers and the artists, the stars, the celebrities, and whosoever we're dealing with at that moment. Also, Tina Nalova is not only about blogging; she's much more than that. So she's always thinking out of the box. Because this year we introduced the live sessions where we have artists come on our page and talk about their stuff, and the fans ask them questions. And also we have video content that we provide for our blog, short video content of about a minute. So there's always something happening when it comes to Lady T's blog.
Have you had any recognitions yet?
Yes, I was nominated at the Diaspora Entertainment Awards in 2016 in the U.S.
Okay.
I didn't win, but I got nominated, so that was an honor also. Yeah, so that was the only time, actually.
Now, Tina, yes, in the practice of journalism and blogging, how would you assess yourself? Would you say it's been a successful journey this far?
It has. Now that you've mentioned it, and with this interview, it actually hit me of how much work I've put in over the years and how I keep growing. And I'm still young. God willing, I will have even more opportunities and be able to expand and expand and grow. But I try not to step on anybody's toes while I'm moving along, because we are in this together. So I don't know where I'll be in the next 2-3 years, so it's always good to keep a good rapport with everybody. So I really think it's been a positive experience so far.
Any regrets?
Yes, I kind of regret sometimes slacking when it comes to my blog, because sometimes I'm overwhelmed with stuff that are not blog related, and I slack because I'm a one-man army. But I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to have a team now. People who are going to work with me to the video editing and even the blogging, like a company, so that when I do slack, I've got my team to back me up.
Right. How would you assess the African blogging sector?
Oh my God, it's powerful. It's growing. If I want to just start from Cameroon itself, I look around me and I see my Francophone blog is doing great. My Anglophone blog is doing great. And I'm just overwhelmed. It's growing, and we are mastering the skill, and we're not even scared. We have so many bloggers out there who are reporting very hard information, but they are not scared of doing that. And in Africa as a whole, is the same thing. People are really, really understanding the use of blogs. They are even more appreciated than the mainstream media sometimes when it comes to information.
Right.
So, yeah.
And do you have any professionals who kind of catch your attention, professionals you admire these days?
Right now, the person who's got my attention in the Cameroon scene is Clarice Dinge of Better Things. She's my go-to person when it comes to stories, when it comes to how she reports. It's like she never sleeps. There's always something that she's doing, and you have stories out of nowhere. I'm very admirative of her blog and her work so far, and she has a lovely personality too.
That's interesting. Okay. One man army, her name is Tina Nalova. She's very versatile, hardworking, intelligent, and very ambitious. She is the main passenger on board this radio ride, which has already covered a great distance. And when we come back with her, it will be the last stretch of this radio journey. Then we'll head straight to our destination. So, Tina, you have the last break. Then we'll be back with you.
Joe on the beat.
Mano Maximax Trop classe, first class MM Qui te dit mon amour est là et ça va jamais finir. My heart not for you, c'est le maman bébé, je peux te jamais mentir. Oh bébé, je vais te donner l'amour. Oh bébé, je vais te donner l'amour. Je t'ai croisé, ton sourire m'a attrapé. Je suis devenu esclave de ta beauté. Je suis devenu prisonnier de ton amour. Ma chérie, je ferai tout pour toi. Tu m'as jamais, je suis devenu fou. Je m'appelle Maximax, call me Maximax. Tu me rends dingue, dingue, dingue. Je te dis mon amour est là et ça va jamais finir.
Authored by Maxi, Max produced technically by Big Joe, and of course is executive producer Zontac Records with Emmanuel Takuzi at the music on promotion on Apex One Radio. Music goes for the time to 25 minutes past 5 here in the studio of Apex One Radio. We're broadcasting from Columbus, Ohio in the United States of America. It's on board with Ernest Kanjyo with scores of passengers, and our main one is Nalova Tina. She is an international journalist and blogger. As soon as she comes back on the airwaves, we're going to hit the last stretch of this radio journey, and we'll head straight to our destination. Ernest Kanjyo is my name. Maxel Adil is part of the team today. Emmanuel Payne is taking care of the tickets, and of course, our distance monitor is Sharon John in Limbe. Max.
Ça va jamais finir. Maintenant faut you c'est le maman bébé, je peux te jamais mentir. Je te dis mon amour est là et ça va jamais finir. Maintenant faut you c'est le maman bébé, je peux te jamais mentir. Instagram, tapez sur la joue. Aide-moi, non, je vais te donner l'amour. Mais va sur Facebook, tapez sur la joue. Je te dis mon amour est là et ça va jamais finir. Maintenant faut you c'est le maman bébé, je peux te jamais mentir.
The beautiful love story told by Maxi Max Music, which has brought the time to 27 minutes past 5 here in the studio of Apex One Radio. Thank you so much, Buminang Elvis. You are in Barcelona, in Spain, watching us live. Thank you for joining the show, my very good classmate and friend Kimai Oret, who is in Belgium. On board with Ernest Kanjyo, we are now negotiating the last stage of the journey.
You are listening to On Board with Ernest Kanjo, a top-profile face-to-face interview that presents some of Africa's illustrious sons and daughters, making the continent proud. On Board with Ernest Kanjo, just on Apex One Radio. Get on board and be Kanjo's next passenger.
While we await our next passenger, let's deal with the current one. Tina, welcome back.
Thank you, Alex.
Right, so if we are telling your story on radio today, like I mentioned earlier on, it just because you have one. But then we cannot tell the entire story today. If we want to tell your story, we will be here the whole day and even tomorrow, and why not the day after? But then, so let's look at Tina away from blogging, away from journalism, and away from those things you do in your official capacity or professional capacity. So if you are not writing a story, if you are not covering one, what could you be caught doing? What are your hobbies?
Sleeping. I love being indoors. I'll just be indoors, listening to music, reading a novel. I love my own space. So I'm a very indoors introvert person.
Right. And if someone has to be your friend, what traditional delicacies should they serve you?
Fufu and arrow. That's my my go-to food. Anytime, any day. But it's not healthy though. It makes me have a weird belly, so I try not to eat it too much, so I don't look weird.
What if for an eru, whereas you are Bakwere? Why not kwakoko and banga soup?
I know it's supposed to be kwakoko and banga soup because it's my traditional meal, but there's just something about this fufu and eru I cannot explain.
All right. So, what are some other skills you have which you haven't told us about?
Well, Ernest, I must admit, you've actually looked at a lot of my skills. But I think maybe in writing, I write a lot of poems, movie scripts, novels, this kind of stuff. But that's still part of it, though. And then I also love singing, but I don't have a good voice. But I sing under the shower and stuff like that. So just those two.
All right, that's beautiful. You see, Tina, there are a lot of people who achieve things, but not at a tender age. You are just 20, but you possess a wealth of experience in what you do, and you still yearn to do more. And I believe there are lots of people out there, younger ones, of course, who admire you, who actually admire your achievements, and they'll probably like to have these achievements and as well. And why not more than what you have? If you have an advice for these aspiring young people, what would you tell them?
I'll tell them the world is not easy. So no one is going to give you anything on a silver platter and say, take, it's yours for free. No. You're going to have the door slammed on your face. You're going to have people who will tell you no. You're going to have people who are going to tell you you're not good enough. There are going to be people who will tell you, you're so small. Why do you want to do all of this? What are you thinking? People your age don't even think about it. So there are going to be people who will bring you down. But you have to always work for what you want. And work in silence, let your success make the loudest noise. So if you believe in something, work for it. It's not going to be easy, but when you get it, the satisfaction is out of this world.
Work in silence, your actions will make the noise. If you believe in anything, go for it. The words of our main passenger on board this radio, right? Tina Nalova is her name. She's reading with us, and at exactly 28 minutes to 6 here in the studio of Apex One Radio, we've arrived our destination. It was definitely a smooth radio ride. So Tina, how was the journey? Is there something we said which we shouldn't have said, or there is something we didn't say which we would have said?
No, it was a smooth ride.
All right, she confirms it was a smooth ride. We want to thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We hope that your story inspired someone out there. I would love that you continue in that spirit so that tomorrow when you come on the airwaves of Apex One Radio again, it would be yet another interesting story. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
I do have a fantastic rest of the day.
Okay, Ernest. Have a lovely day.
Marcel Ajit was our locomotion engineer. Emmanuel Paye took care of the tickets. The monitor at large was Sharon John in Limbe. The conductor was Ernest Kanjo. And of course, you out there was the audience. And we want to say thank you so much for joining this radio journey, which comes to its final destination at exactly 26 minutes to 6 here in the studio of Apex One Radio. And with your permission, let us turn off the engine. Bye for now, and may God bless you.
Sol benessima me belli sol nelimo baye me ba men pingil munbede inuni di bikai di kwembo me kwebe tabo pele nuga bi sol benessima me belli sol nelimo baye me ba men pingil munbede.
Hey friends, come to think of this, the world has become so competitive and giving birth to people we describe as movers and shakers. See how they excel in their craft and contribute to the development of their community and their society. Their stories are fascinating and inspiring. Their examples are worth emulating. Their successes are great. Here comes a platform that tells those stories with the people behind them coming on board to do so. On Board with Ernest Kanjo is that journey which ferries you into the lives of Africa's illustrious sons and daughters, at home and in the diaspora. The one-on-one top-profile interview is every week on Apex One Radio. On Board with Ernest Kanjo, be Kanjo's next passenger.
Apex One Radio USA. Apex One Radio.